going on, guys? Dustin here with Custom Offsets TV on the YouTube, and we're back with another video. This one's a little bit different style here. We're gonna be sitting down and going over some of the that I never knew, and today's video is actually I never knew about rubber sizes. Now, this is actually a video that is pretty important for the whole family. It'll keep everybody safe, you know. It's a dad joke. You're supposed to laugh. It's funny.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Anyway, all right, so in front of me here, what I have is two different tires. One is mounted, one is not. Don't hold that against me. I just grabbed two of them out of the shop here quick. But what we're looking at today is tire sizing. What I mean by that is standard versus metric tire sizes. So on the right-hand side here, we have a Radar Renegade R7 MT. This is Radar's mud tire. This one is gonna be in a 33 12.5 R22. Now on the left, although very similar sized, in a completely different genre of tires from a mud tire to a street tire, we have the Toyo Proxy ST3, the newest rendition of the Toyo Proxy tire. And this one is gonna be in a 305 45 R22. So today we're really gonna be sitting down, going over, comparing, contrasting, kind of talking about the sizing on them, really helping you guys understand exactly how the metric sizes and the standard size tires compare to each other. So like I said, when we look at these two tires, there are two different sizing styles. On the right here, you have a standard tire size. Now this one is gonna be sometimes referred to as a flotation tire size, right? And this one is gonna be measured in inches. So when we talk about this tire here, this is a 33 12.5 R22, and what that's gonna mean on this tire here is that this tire, if you spin it this way, is gonna be 33 inches in diameter. So that means from this top part all the way down to the bottom, you're gonna have 33 inches of diameter. So pretty standard sizing there. You're gonna hear a lot of guys talk about these in 33, 35, 37, 40, 42 for the really big guys. But this one is pretty standard nomenclature out there. Now, 33 is in designation to the diameter, and then likewise, on the cross section here, you have 12.5 inches wide. That's why it's a 33 12.5. And then of course, R22 means it's built for a 22-inch diameter wheel, which is the hole in the middle. You guys already know that. Now, it is important to note, not all standard tire sizes are the same. And what I mean by that is, different manufacturers are going to make different shoulder lugs and tread pattern designs. So in the case of, for example, Versatire or Venom Power, some of those guys, they're gonna have a much more square tire than some of the other guys on the market, say your Nittos or your Toyos. Important thing to note on the standard size tire here though, is that it's always going to be diameter first, then tread width, and then lastly, wheel size. That's gonna be really, really super important as we get over into the metric size. So not a whole lot else to talk about this one. This is the easier of the two to go over actually. So we're gonna get this one kind of out of the way here a little bit and dive into the metric one here. Okay, so getting this guy out of the way, I'm gonna kind of slide it off to the side. The tire is literally as tall as I am on this nice little stool here. So in front of me on the left-hand side is the Toyo Proxy ST3. Again, this one is a 305 45 R22. Now, coming in a metric size, it can be a little bit confusing what this one is, or what this is gonna mean. Unlike the standard size tire, which always comes in diameter by width by wheel size, metric tires are actually opposite. And on top of being opposite, they're also kind of complex. So let's dive right into it here. What we're looking at when we talk about a 305 45 R22 is this tread pattern is 305 millimeters wide. Now it's measured in millimeters because obviously it's a metric tire. So they're gonna get that measurement from this shoulder lug right here all the way across the center of the tread patch over to this side. So what you're gonna have is 305 millimeters across from here to here. In terms of inches, I'm gonna do that math for you real quick here.
Lot of boring math later.
So if we're talking 305 millimeters, it's gonna give us about 12 inches wide. So again, the first number on a metric tire is gonna talk side lug to side lug. Now, this is where it gets really confusing. So, in addition to talking width first, a metric tire, the second number in a metric tire is not actually sidewall. Instead, it's a ratio. They call it aspect ratio. And what that means is that it's a percentage of your center tread patch in width in height. So we're gonna take 305 millimeters and we're gonna multiply that by 0.45 because again, it's an aspect ratio, meaning that it's a percentage. So that brings us to 137.25. You can put it right here. Look at that, see? So that means that your sidewall is gonna be 137.25 millimeters in height. Sounds great, but again, most of us here are on the standard system. So if we take that 137.25 and put it in here, it's going to give you about 5.5 inches of sidewall. Now this is where, again, it gets a little bit confusing. So when you talk about 5.5 inches of sidewall, you have to add that on top of the tire, right? So again, you're talking a 305, 45, R22, and you can see that they're almost the same size as what this 33 12.5 R20 is. Now again, this one's mounted, so it looks a little bit different, but metric tires are always going to be width first, then aspect ratio, and finally wheel size. Standard tires are always going to be 33 12.5 R22. The last thing I want to cover with you guys here real quick when it comes to metric tires is that wheel size matters. And what that means is that a 265/75, for example, right? 265 wide, 75% aspect ratio on a 16-inch wheel is going to be a much smaller wheel than a 265/75 18, for example, which is on an 18-inch wheel, right? Bigger wheel diameter, more diameter from the wheel, and then the additional aspect ratio on the side is going to give you a much taller tire. Now, all of this is really, really confusing, and I don't expect you guys to know this right off the top of your head. One thing that Custom Offsets does actually have is a really cool calculator page that you guys can go to and visit, and it actually has all sorts of tools from wheel size comparisons to backspacing calculators, and probably the most important in this particular case, it has a tire size calculator. So I'm gonna pull that up here just a moment as well. So we're gonna go to the old Custom Offsets website. We're gonna go to Resources, under the Resources tab, the hamburger menu, Resources tab, then we're gonna go to Calculators. So this is gonna bring us to the calculator page. So again, there's offset and backspacing calculator, there's wheel and tire size comparison and clearance calculators, and then there's a tire size comparison, which allows you to compare two tire sizes. And most important to what we got going on here is a metric to standard conversion. So if I click on that little guy, it's gonna give me the option. So again, we're talking a 305, 45, R22, and I hit the old calculate button, and that's gonna bring us to a 32.8 by 12 by 22. So that's why you see this 305, 45, and this 33 12.5 be super similar in comparison. Now again, one is mounted, one is not, so you are getting a little bit of stretch. This is a 14 wide wheel in case you guys didn't know. So you're getting a little bit of stretch here, which is kind of impacting it all together. But there you have it, guys. There is tire size comparison in a nutshell and everything that you guys need to know about tire sizing. What do you guys think? Have you had a lot of experience with metric tire sizes, or are you mostly seeing standard tire sizes? Let us know down in the comments section below. I'm actually gonna go through and read through every comment, so if you've got a story, drop it down below. I'd love to hear about it. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep making banging content just like this one. Peace.